So this is just everybody, obviously FLEUR East is here and we've managed to get her to join us. I know a lot of the children thought that I was lying and thought that this was all a bit of a setup. So thank you for proving that I'm not a liar. That's really helpful. Yeah, so as you can see on your screen at the moment, we are doing obviously social distancing in school, so that's why we've got lots of little groups. So this is all our year sixes that would normally just be 4 classes, but at the moment we're kind of spread about into lots of little groups, so that's why it looks like there's loads of us, but it's not quite as many as it looks, I don't think. Yeah, so if it's okay with you,
right, let's line up at the door then, we'll go down to
guys, can you all just mute your screens? I don't know if that, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if it's okay with you, what we thought we'd do is we'd go to each classroom and they will have a question ready for you, if that's all right, or they might have a little performance that they'd like to show you, if that's okay. Because
exciting.
Yeah, I hope you're excited, because there's a lot of very excited children here. Just before we start, I just want to say from our point of view, from the teachers, thank you so much for putting the wrap together. It's been, we really wanted to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement with the children, and it's just made it so much more accessible. It's opened up the discussions that are sometimes a bit difficult and uncomfortable. So I just want to say a massive thank you from our point of view, because it's really massively helped us. Yeah, so that's just from us teachers, really. Do you want to say anything to the children just before I pass you over to them, or?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm really excited to be on this conference call with you all. And I was really surprised and in disbelief that my rap was being used in your lessons. But it made me really happy, so I'm glad I could be part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's been so good, and you've definitely gained a few members to your fan club, I think, because we've got lots of people, and I'm going to tell you some stories in a minute that I think will make you really proud. But I'll hand over to the children for now, because they've got some really good questions for you. Okay, can we go to let's go to Mrs. Julian's class first, please, because they've got a really good questions to start with. Yeah, there we go. Over to you guys.
How long did it take you to write the rap, and what is your favourite?
Ooh, it took me about an hour, just over an hour. And yeah, I mean, I kept editing it every time though, because I really wanted the message to be clear. And I think for me, the favorite line has to be the last line. You know, you can choose to divide, but the truth will remain. Underneath our skin, we all bleed the same, which is the overall message of the piece, that no matter what color our skin is, no matter how old we are, no matter where we come from, you know, ultimately, we are all the same.
Sanson, can you hear us? Yeah.
Hello, sorry, we can hear you now.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, can you do your question next? Thank you.
Yeah, Samuel, handing over to you.
Like, have you ever experienced like racism in, like, for example, when you live in reality TV?
Have I experienced racism in reality TV shows? Is that the question?
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah.
You know, it hasn't been really when I've been on the show or with the people that I've worked with, but I think I experienced it more when articles were published about me and people would comment on certain things and say really nasty things to do with either my hair, the way I looked, or different things like that. So it was mainly from people in the public that were watching the show. But on the show, my personal experience was amazing. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, that's amazing. I think the next question leads on quite nicely to that. Can we go to Miss Onion's class, please? Got some very excited boys in that room, I think, to speak to you.
Boys.
What do you think is the best way to deal with racism?
Ooh, a unified question.
Yeah.
The best way to deal with it, I think, is to try and react to it with positivity. So a lot of the time, I think when you're someone that is affected by it personally, You can get very upset, and I think the worst way to deal with it is to deal with it in a negative way. So to deal with it with anger, or to start to build hate within yourself. I think it's really important to always show love in whatever you do. So if you've ever seen racism, I think it's important to say something. It's important to point it out. It's important to be there for each other. If you see a friend who's experiencing it, support them, you know, speak up for them, report it to a teacher, but always know that you have love in your heart. And a lot of the time when people are racist or they're mean to you, it's because they don't understand a lot of things, or because they're going through things in their own lives. So don't start to hate anybody. Just always show love and be positive.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that, Fleur. That definitely echoes kind of the conversations we've been having in school as well over the last couple of weeks, I think. I don't know if Miss Ballington's group want to perform their rap, and I know they were quite nervous, so they want to get it out of the way quite early, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
So you can sit back and relax and enjoy this next bit if that group's ready. Where are they?
Two below us.
Oh yeah, thank you. So this put this into context, Fleur. This was after we listened to your rap last week. They wrote their own version based on the lyrics of yours. So yeah, take it away, guys.
Black Lives Matter, that is what we need to hear. George Floyd saying, I can't even breathe. We're meant to be in this together forever, but apparently not. We need to be really clever.
Silence won't change anything. Racism been going since Luther King, and it's a message that's centuries old. Come on, speak out, be brave and be bold. Stand up for your rights, we'll win this fight.
Black Lives Matter, that's the message we spread. Because every night people just get right to our bed. We continue to fight for generations until we're equal again as a nation. It's meant to fight for our rights, so it's meant to be
Fight should be real, it should be fake. There's no reason to scribblers name. Martin Luther King, up and stay. That's how racism is happening every single day.
Black Lives Matter, we are all the same. If you look inside, you see we're in pain. Rosa Parks never gave up, our voice the same. The one piece is what we need to gain. No, we gotta speak up. Racism, we're genius, so we gotta rise up. George Floyd, he said, we gotta live together. Black Lives Matter, we are all the same. 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 Black Lives Matter, we are all the same.
Amazing! Wow, well done. That was incredible.
Yeah, well done. Racism. Mrs. Collins, can we go to your class, please? There we go.
Right, hold on, Aaron. Right, open here.
Hi.
Big voice.
Who inspired you to become a singer?
I think it's funny because my parents actually inspired me. Both of them say that when they were younger they could sing very well, but now they're older they really can't sing very well, so I don't know what happened. But they both encouraged me to sing, because when my mum was pregnant with me, they used to play music through headphones onto my mum's stomach. So when I was a baby inside my mum's tummy, I was listening to music before I even came into the world. So as soon as I could make a sound, I was singing. So it's always been a part of me and something that I've loved for a long time.
Thank you.
Excellent question. Thanks, guys.
Do you think getting to where you are now would have been easier if you were white?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say because there are so many beliefs that have existed for such a long time that unfortunately don't give equal opportunities to people of colour. But in my experience, I guess personally, I would see that I've worked hard to achieve everything I've achieved. But then I've met people along the way that have told me if I wasn't a black female, I probably would have done a lot better or would have been more successful. I mean, it's open to the individual and it's a really difficult question to answer in one. There's so many different elements to consider. And it's hard to say because, you know, I'm not white, so I can't possibly tell you. But I do know that there are opportunities that unfortunately are restricted to people of colour. And I think that the whole reason for the Black Lives Matter movement is so that we can make sure that in the future, everybody has equal opportunities, regardless of their colour. And for example, a question like you just asked me today won't really be a question that we have to ask. That's all that I can hope for.
Amazing, thank you. Right, we're going to have a question from my class now, and I'm going to tell you a little story afterwards, Claire, that I think will make you really proud of this. But I would like to hear your answer first, if that's okay. Off you go, Colby.
Is it true that you were once told that in order to be successful, you had to straighten your hair?
Yes, it is true. I did have a management company that told me if I became a famous singer and I kept my natural hair like this, people wouldn't want to buy my music, or my image wouldn't be appealing to people if they saw me. I was also in a girl group once with another black girl that had big hair like me. And the management company said, well, Fleur, you're going to have to straighten yours because we can't have two black girls with big hair. We can only have one because two of you with big hair will be too much for people and you won't sell as well. So it was upsetting to hear that, but I've learned growing up that person was just ignorant. Their opinion doesn't mean that everybody in their position thinks the same way. And I think that's why I choose to wear my hair naturally as much as I can, because I like to celebrate it.
Yeah, well, I have to say you've been a real inspiration to a couple of girls in my class when it comes to the hair, and we had a very lengthy conversation yesterday about how amazing your hair is, and all the staff agree as well. So I'm really glad that you've kind of come to that decision. I've got a couple of girls in my class that are being a bit shy at the moment, but they are going to get up and do a rap a little bit later, that have just today embraced their natural hair just because of the conversation from yesterday.
Wow.
And you will see that a little bit later. And I was quite emotional when I saw that this morning. So it's been a massive kind of, you know, you've had a direct impact just on those two girls just because of talking about your own experiences. So thank you again for that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Let's go to Mrs. Reader's class next, please.
Forward. Right forward.
Do you think that the Black Lives Matter movement will make real change? And how is it different to different?
I think it's different to different protests because of the timing. So, for example, everything that we've been protesting about isn't new. These issues have existed for a long time. But the protest is different this time because we've been in lockdown. So because of the global pandemic, everybody's been at home, majority of us, and there's nowhere to really hide from anything. So when you see the protests in the media, rather than being able to distract yourself with everyday life, lockdown has forced a lot of us to be aware of what's going on. So that's what's made it different. And also, I think it's, to date, the biggest civil rights movement in history because of the amount of countries around the world that have protested and campaigned for the same movement. So that's pretty amazing. And I think for those reasons, it will affect change. And I think we will see a difference just because it's so big and on a global scale, and people have felt the effects of this protest even more.
Yeah, brilliant question, guys. Thank you very much. I think from our point of view as well, obviously we've been kind of obviously a little bit off curriculum, so it's given us more time in schools to talk about it, which has just been amazing. It's been one of the best kind of teaching experiences of my life, to be fair, which has come from a pretty negative experience, obviously, with lockdown, but we've had a bit more of that freedom. So yeah, hopefully it will continue. We'll try and fight to keep it in the curriculum in whatever way we can. Can we go to Mr. Gadsby's class next, please? I think that leads on right.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Busby. I've got a couple of children who won't forgive me if they don't have a chance to perform either FLEUR's rap or our own take on the poem. So I will do those and then move on to the question class, right? Emily, come on.
No!
It's regular breakfast. It's time to speak up.
Black Lives Matter, that's a message not to fight. The fight against racism and not against the white. It's a movement with a message that is centuries old. So if you stand against injustice and speak up and be bold, we've seen everybody come together, stay up and work together, fighting against the virus, but we can't even see. Now we're facing another virus, one called racism, and silence isn't gonna change lives, just protect you and me. 8 minutes, 46 seconds, can you believe? George Floyd was held down, saying he couldn't breathe. It's time to stand up, time to put your hands up, time to understand that the answer and enough is enough. Feel fear for the lives through the shade that were painted. Can you see the picture has been tainted? The hashtag does not accuse you or exclude you, saying all lives matter is only see and want you to you. If you don't have a clue, it's like crashing a stranger's funeral and screaming, yeah, I lost someone too. The inequity, complexity, the pain and the complexity, the gun running, trying to numb the pain that you're meant to be. We're meant to be in this together. Speak up for your brothers, for your sisters, and the doors from the source of the warmth of black mother. And my father was white. My future children will be black and will continue to fight. Do something, say something, yeah, we all have a voice. And in the colour of our skin, none of us had a choice. We continue to divide, but the truth will remain. Underneath our skin, we all believe the same. Who's that? That was her.
Amazing! Oh, you did so well.
It took a bit of mastering the very quick wordplay.
Yeah.
And from that, we were inspired to kind of write our own class poem/rap.
We're living through a new stage in history. Some of the contents won't be a mystery. Well, some only talk about COVID-19, but Black Lives Matter is now the scene. For some it's a struggle that's been there all their lives. For others it means they've opened their eyes. It shouldn't take a man being killed to think about how a brighter future we can build. This isn't about black versus white. Racism should be everybody's fight. There's no place in this world for hate, so open up and join the debate. In this life we all have a choice, so speak up and use your voice. It doesn't matter about your creed or race, let's make the world a better place.
Oh, brilliant. So good. There's so much talent at your school.
And the question, Fleur.
Have you done anything specific to protest about the Black Lives Matter movement?
Sorry, can you ask that again? I didn't hear that.
Have you done anything specific to protest about the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yes, well, it all started with the rap that I wrote. That was just to kind of get the message out there and to use my social media platform and my radio show to get the conversation going. I've also posted about it regularly on my social media. I've hosted live conversations on my Instagram just to answer any questions, to get the word out there even further. And then I actually did go and protest in London with the demonstration and shouted loudly, Black Lives Matter, and that we're all part of one race, the human race. So I'm doing my bit here and there. I've still got a few petitions left to sign, but I'll never end the conversation. I'll keep talking about it as much as I can. I've also been on TV and been interviewed about it as well. So wherever I can spread the message, I will.
Thank you very much.
Nice big voice.
If you could stop one thing about racism, what would it be?
I would just want to stop racism altogether, to be honest, because when you see the effects of it, they're all negative. There's nothing good that comes out of racism. There's nothing good that keeps us all divided in a negative way. There's nothing good about seeing people lose their lives or see people suffer and struggle because of their race. So my ultimate wish would be to end racism altogether.
We'll go to Mrs. Spellman next, please.
Do you think racism is worse in America?
To be honest, on the whole, yes, I do think it is worse. Mainly because of their system and because of their laws that they have in America that are very different to our laws here. Also, they have a larger population. There are different laws in different states. So it's very different to the UK. We sort of live under predominantly one system. Whereas in America, you can go to one state and to another state and it's a completely different law. So it's very hard to police it or to have every single system the same. So I do think that it is a lot worse there. But saying that, we still do have racism here in the UK. And even though it is not as bad, it's bad anywhere that you face it. So I'm hoping that people don't try and compare it to America and think that we're okay, because we're definitely not.
Yeah, that's definitely something we've spoken a lot about in school, about how a lot of obviously the media coverage is about America, but I think it's important that we recognise a lot of the issues here as well, especially for our kids. Can we go to Miss Usher, please? I know Miss Usher has got a question and also another little performance for you. I've been busy. I actually was walking around at lunchtime and could just hear your rap blasting out of every classroom. So I'm going to go to sleep with it in my head, I think, tonight. Over to you, Miss Usher.
Oh my gosh, FLEUR is so That's the message that's fight. The fight against racism and not against right. It's a unit with a message that is centuries old. If we stand against injustice, we've seen everybody come together, stay at home and work together, fight against the virus that we can't even see. Now we face another virus, one called racism. And silence isn't going to save lives or protect you and me. And even if it's 4 to 6 seconds, can't even leave. George Floyd was held down, saying he couldn't breathe. It's time to stand up. Time to put your hands up, time to understand there's an answer and another. People fear for their lives through the shape they were painted. Can you see the picture has been tainted? The hashtag does not accuse you or exclude you. Saying all lives matter when you see what you choose. If you don't have a clue, it's like crashing the same. You're screaming, yeah, I lost someone too. The inequity, complexity, the pain and repetitive. They're gonna rally trying to know in pain, sheer necessity. But mentally, they're in this together. So speak up for your brothers, for your sisters, for your to a black mother and my father was right. My future children will be black and will continue to fight. Do something, say something, yeah, we all have a voice. And in the colour of our skin, none of us have the choice. We could continue to lie, but the truth will remain. Underneath our skin, we are the same.
Nice one.
Sorry if you didn't hear at the beginning, but I just wanted to say one of the girls had learnt the piano today so she could play along with them when they were singing, which was really impressive.
Oh no, so that was live. I didn't even realise.
Yeah.
Wow, well done.
It's just at the back there. All right.
Miss Usher, while we're with you, do you want to do your question? Okay, so the question was, have you ever received negative feedback for one of your songs because of skin colour? That was a question from Miss Usher's class.
Unfortunately, people that do have racist opinions and racist views will have those opinions regardless, and there's nothing that you can do about that. And no matter what you do, if they have those opinions, then they're always going to think negatively. So one example I was giving was, rather than, you know, certain individuals seeing my songs as a high energy, me being excitable, instead they would use words like aggressive, for example, which, you know, is their opinion, and you can't do anything to change that. But what I can do is just set a positive example wherever I can.
Okay, shall we just go to Mrs. Potterton's class, which I think is Mr. Beeston today, isn't it? I'm really interested in your answer to this one. This is a debate that we've had with the children over the last week. So I think everybody will be interested to hear your take on this one. So over to you, Mr. Beeston.
Thank you very much. Olivia?
How does it make you feel when you witness racism?
Oh, that's
I mean, it just makes me feel so sad. It makes me feel really upset. You know, anytime I see any racist comments, or I see a really horrible, violent incident as a result of racism, it makes me really upset. But I'm really happy, and I'm hopeful that the future is looking brighter, you know, especially because we're having this conversation with all of you who are the future generation. And as long as we start having those conversations with you, then, you know, my children, your children, all the future generation will have a better future. That's all that we can hope for.
We'll continue the fight. That's what we keep saying. The question I've got written down, so I'm going to ask it you because I think it's an interesting one. So in school, over the last couple of weeks, we've been debating the removal and vandalism of some of the controversial statues. We just wanted to know what your take on that issue was. Do you think it's an appropriate form of protest? Do you think it's not very appropriate? What's your feelings about it?
It's kind of like a double-sided argument, this one, because I don't condone criminal activity. So first of all, I don't think that if you're doing something that breaks the law, that should be, you know, praised or supported. But on the other side, it's very difficult when you've had members of the population or members of a community that have campaigned for a while for certain statues to be taken down. I know, for example, in Bristol, the statue of the slave owner, there were a lot of petitions and a lot of campaigns for years and years to have that taken down, and nobody listened. And I think when they saw the Black Lives Matter movement was getting a lot of traction, they took that as their time to take it into their own hands and take it down. So, I mean, you can see that as a positive, you cannot, but I think it's important to just understand the thought process behind the action. And I think when we start to actually tackle the cause of all of these actions, then we can start to solve the bigger problem.
Yeah, you've actually beautifully summed up both sides of our debate last week there. That was kind of exactly the kind of things the children were coming up with. Yeah, so thank you very much for that one. To Mrs. Bannington's class now, this is a not Black Lives Matter related question. But I know the children are desperate to know the answer to this one.
What was your worst bush tucker trial in the jungle?
So I think for those that watched it probably would have thought it was the pizza challenge, when I was lying on the pizza and the pinatas and getting covered in bugs, and that was horrible, don't get me wrong. For me, my worst trial was when I had to go underwater, and I think I faced spiders, crabs, eels, rats, cockroaches, basically everything in one. But I think for me it was scary because I had to swim underwater and it was quite a confined space, so I faced a lot of fears in one. So that was probably my worst one.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you've got our respect on a whole new level, and I think it comes to that as well. Really nice question to end on from Mrs. Chapman's class, please. I think this is probably the most important one for our children. Mrs. Chapman, over to you. To my classroom. Come and stand here then, Olivia. There we go, sweetheart. Go for it.
What do you think we can do to make a difference to the Black Lives Matter movement?
I think you can make a difference by continuing to have the conversations. So, for example, if you're confused as to how it affects people, or if you have a lot of questions about racism or people's personal experiences, just like today, us having this conversation, ask questions. Ask questions of your Black friends, speak to people. For example, if you have a question for a person of color and you think that it's really awkward to ask or you don't want to offend them, a good way to start the conversation is to say, "Hi, you're a good friend of mine, and I really don't want to offend you, but I want to understand racism a bit more. So is it okay if I ask you a question?" Maybe if you start with that, then you can have the conversation. If you see racism happening in any kind of situation, point it out. Like I said before, it might even be something simple as saying, "Well, that wasn't a very nice comment. Maybe you should think about how that would affect my friend here that you've said that to." Or maybe you should think about how that might sound racist. Or even better than that, maybe report it to a teacher and kind of get them to deal with it. But the main thing for all of you, the future generation, is to understand the important message that no matter what your skin color is, no matter your age, no matter your background, every single one of us is part of the human race. We're all on this planet together. We're all brothers and sisters, and we should all show each other continuous love and continuous support. And anything that upsets your brother or sister should upset you, and you should do everything you can do to stop it. You are so important. You might not realize, but all of you that I'm speaking to right now are so, so important for the future generations and the future of this planet. So use your voice to make a positive difference.
That was really powerful, actually. I just had a quick look around my class, and I think you saying that, for some reason, has much more impact than when I say that. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. That's it with the questions. We've got one final performance for you from my class, if that's okay. Do you want to go and get yourselves ready, guys? And then I'm going to turn this on. Right, are we ready?
Black lives matter, that's the message that's the fight. The fight against racism and not against white. It's a movement with a message that is centuries old. To be standing against injustice and nothing for God. We see everybody come together, stand and work together. Fight against the virus that we can't even see. And we're facing another virus for racism aside. I think we're gonna change lives up to you and me. 8 minutes, 46 seconds, can you believe? George Floyd's held down, saying he couldn't breathe. Time to stand up, time to put your hands up, time to understand love's the end, really happens to know. People fear for their lives of the shade they're painted. Can you see the evidence replicated? The hashtag does not accuse you or exclude you. Saying all lives matter doesn't mean what you choose. People killing, people dying, children and you hear crying. Can you practice what you preach? Would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us. Send some guidance from above. People got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love. If you don't have a clue, it's like crashing the train, the funeral, you don't have someone to the immensity, the places, the pain, and the message. I'm running around and trying never pay to share the message. In this together, to speak up for your brothers and sisters of the brothers from the south. Fall to a black, no matter how those fight. Please children with the black and we'll continue to fight. Do something, say something, young people have a voice. And in the color of our skin, none of us have a choice. You can continue to fight, but the truth remains. Underneath your skin, we will be safe. People killing, people dying, children hurting, you hear crying. Can you practice what you preach? Would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us. Send some guidance from above. People got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love. Thank you for listening to Buzzkids 11.
Oh, such incredible.
Like I say, we've been practicing that for quite a while, so it's stuck in my head quite a lot.
So good. Honestly, what you've put together today is just incredible. You're also talented. There's so many intelligent students that I've heard from today. I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to talk to you.
Thanks so much for coming. I will regret this if I don't ask this question, because loads of the kids have been asking me all day. Could we invite you to come and perform that in person with us at some point when social distancing isn't a thing and when things go back to some kind of normality? Would that be something you'd come and help us with?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it'd be really great to meet you in person. And I promise I won't keep sending you Twitter messages now. But I really appreciate your time. Do any other members of staff want to say anything? Because I know people wanted to speak up. No?
Hi, sorry, from my group, a couple of kids wanted to show their artwork that they had to go at last week, if that's okay, with the Black Lives Matter movement theme.
Go for it.
We did a lesson about Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech and his I Had a Dream speech. Yeah, we thought the speech was like very inspirational, and like it showed us like where you come from, and like what you look like. You can still cause change. And so we made posters after hearing the speech to try and promote equality through pictures.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing those with me.
Amazing. Well done, Miss Hanson's class. I just have to show you this one that a boy did of you in my class this morning. This is from Harrison. It's taken him a good couple of days, but it's pretty good.
Wow, you did a good job on the hair.
Exactly. I like the hair. Yeah, I have to say my classroom at the moment looks like I'm at a FLEUR concert, because there's banners, there's pictures of you everywhere. It's absolutely crazy. So I might try and take a couple of pictures and send them you later, because I know.
Yeah, that would be great.
Can I just ask, just before you go, one last thing? I promise this is the last thing. Can I just ask all the teachers to put the camera in front of their face so we can get a little group shot? And I deliberately didn't tell you I was going to do this, because I know most of you will hate me. But apart from Miss McGinty, who looks really, really excited. Amazing. Yeah, just one final massive thank you, FLEUR. I really, really appreciate it. You've no idea how much it's added a bit of extra impact to the teaching that's been going on. And I know the kids are going to remember this for a really long time. So massive thank you from me and all the teachers as well.
Thank you all too for having me. It's been an emotionally overwhelming experience. Yeah. But I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, God, it's amazing. Thank you very much. Right, does everybody want to give one final wave goodbye?
Bye, everybody. And thank you so much to all the teachers. You're doing an amazing job.
Crazy final 15 minutes of the day, I think. Bye. Thank you.